Ryan Day's challenge to the players this week should lead to Ohio State pummeling Purdue.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Simply visit FanDuel.com to get started. During today's show, we'll discuss the big weekend ahead for Carlos Locklyn. I will release my score prediction for tomorrow's show. But first, Ryan Day is still challenging the Buckeyes, which I love, and his challenge this week should lead to Ohio State pummeling Purdue. And I know that some of you are thinking, what else can this man challenge the players with? He's already challenged them to do some things during the bye week, put a bigger emphasis on the defense, and he's challenged Will Howard week after week. But now he's challenging the entire team from the starters to the backups. What else can Ryan Day challenge his team to do? Play cleaner football, execute better, be up by a couple scores in the fourth quarter, and to continue to play physical. These are all things that Ohio State must do moving forward, which is why Ohio State must prepare and be intense like they're going into a playoff game. Now, it's not the playoff, but if you're preparing better and you're fine-tuning everything, you're going to be sharper when the playoff comes and you're playing in that new format that is in the postseason of college football. Ohio State's team right now is still loaded with talent. That's not going to change. Purdue is not good. That's not going to change. But if Ohio State keeps working on themselves, even in these games where they are massive, massive favorites, they're going to be better prepared for the playoff, better prepared for a potential rematch with Oregon, better prepared for the game against Indiana, definitely for the game against Michigan. You can start working on this stuff now. It's a mindset. It's a level of focus. It's a level of paying attention to detail that might be new for some players. Now, I don't know all the details about players. I know that there are a lot of vets that are in that team right now, but also there may be things that guys that are vets might be doing new. When you talk about re-engineering a defense in the middle of the season, that's almost unheard of. Most coaches don't even think about doing that. But when Ohio State is able to, because of the plethora of talent that's on the team, the ability to have guys like Caleb Downs and Cody Simon literally be coaches on the field, they're able to re-engineer and they're able to change some things literally on the fly, changing things with pre-snap and how you're kind of disguising coverages differently, how you're defending runs differently. You're able to do all that stuff differently. Well, now, as you got that Nebraska game, change some things up. Now you got that game a week ago against Penn State. Here's another opportunity for Ohio State's defense specifically to work on and show everything that Jen knows is changing and altering right now. We're picking up and we're putting it down on the field, and we're doing it in a great way. Now, you're not just saying it with your words. Saying it with your words is cool, but you're doing it on the field. And if I am Caleb Downs, because I just keep looking at the film and I am just amazed at how good he is at the football. If I am Caleb Downs or Cody Simon or Tua Maloa, just three leaders on those units, you must be the guys to look at this and say, well, Day wants us to play cleaner, to execute better, to be up by a couple scores in the fourth quarter, to continue to play physical. How can I help my unit or help the unit I'm a part of be able to accomplish all of these goals? If I'm Tua Maloa, playing cleaner football, executing more, being up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and being more physical, he can help everybody on the D-line, not just the starters, but also guys like Caden McDonald and Mitchell Melton and everybody else is going to play. He can help them do their part as a unit collectively to make sure this stuff happens. Same thing for Cody Simon and the linebackers. Same thing for Caleb Downs and the guys in the secondary. They can lead their own units so well that it's almost like Jim Knowles is just giving the blueprint, and they're the ones that are putting everything together, that are being the conductor, you may want to say, figuring things out and leading that unit. For the offense, you got Will Howard, man. You got a guy might be one of the – he reminds me so much of JT Barrett. He is not JT Barrett, though. I'm not going to say he is a white JT. I don't normally say things like that on the show, but for context, some people say, man, he the white JT Barrett. Now I'm going to say, no, he is not. No, he is not. But what he is a good quarterback, and he's doing a great job of leading Ohio State this year. And Will Howard's a guy, he wants to play clean. You're the quarterback, man. If anybody on the team wants to play clean football, it's the quarterback. Offensive line, you want to play cleaner, even with your footwork. Your first two steps, if those are off, you might get beat. Donovan Jackson against Abdul Carter. You may say, well, Jay, if his split was a little bit different, or if he kicked back a little bit faster or a little bit wider, he would have been able to stop Abdul Carter. Maybe. But he's already slower. He's already learning a new position. And Abdul Carter has him by at least 50 pounds, so he already has a quickness factor. There were a lot of things going against Donovan Jackson on a couple of those plays, on numerous plays where Abdul Carter got the best of him. However, that's the past. We're here now on a Friday, a feel-good Friday before Ohio State gets back on the field against a bad Boilermaker team. Play cleaner football. Figure out a way to continue to play physical, which I think Ohio State's going to do. I'm going to dive more into that later in the show about why I think Ohio State's game plan, what Ryan Day plans to do tomorrow, is going to be seen very, very clearly in regards to Ohio State playing more physical. I don't think Ohio State's going to have any issue being up a couple scores in the fourth quarter, but tomorrow's the day for you to make that goal, to accomplish that goal, and then the next week in Wrigley Field against Northwestern. Once again, you shouldn't have an issue being up a couple scores in the fourth quarter, but it's also a time for you to accomplish that goal the week after against Indiana. You might have an issue being up a couple scores in the fourth quarter, but you can still accomplish that goal against a good football team in the Indiana Hoosiers, something I did not think I would say at all this year about IU in the preseason, but Kurt Cignetti and getting those transfers in and really revitalizing the energy and the game plan and the mindset of all the players there in Bloomington, Indiana, that might not happen, but it can. You can build confidence now in making these things happen. Being up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, playing cleaner football, executing better, and being more physical. Those are all things Ohio State can do. Those are all things that Ohio State is planning to do this weekend. And yes, on offense, Will Howard's a guy. Seth McLaughlin's a guy. Let's just go Emeka Ibuka, a guy. The leaders, G. Scott Jr. in the tight end room. Looking at those guys specifically for their units. Now, for Will Howard, he's one guy. He's rarely, I don't think he's ever been on the field with another quarterback while at Ohio State. Maybe at Kansas State there were times that he was, but I know for a fact that Ohio State, he's never been on the field with 2 quarterbacks. So with him being on the field by himself, the physicality part might not be something that's in his bag, that it's on his game plan, but it might be because he's been running the ball more. And when you're running the ball and you're 6'4", 235, you're going to lower your shoulder and provide the boom. So yes, physicality for him too. Now you think about being up 2 scores, that's what he wants to do every single game. But he has to be able to lead the entire unit so well that they're being cleaner. They're executing better. And they're accomplishing everything that Ryan Day wants to accomplish this weekend. This weekend's game is another time for Ohio State to step on the field and get better and to respond well when challenged by Ryan Day. They've done a great job of responding well when challenged previously, and I think they'll respond well tomorrow as well. I also have some expectations for Jeremiah Smith tomorrow because he is a guy that might break multiple Ohio State records tomorrow in the shoe. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Jeremiah Smith has been a lot of fun to watch. It's been a phenomenon that I don't think anybody could have really expected it to be this time of year. Yeah, maybe 50 receptions was somebody's prediction. Maybe 800 receiving yards was a prediction. Maybe 10 receiving touchdowns was a prediction that was here on the show in the preseason. Not by me, but by somebody that knows Jeremiah Smith personally. And Jeremiah Smith is going to shatter those predictions, and he's going to break more Chris Carter records. Chris Carter currently holds 2 true freshman receiving records at Ohio State. I'll just say freshman. I don't know if it's true freshman, but he holds 2 freshman receiving records right now. Jeremiah Smith broke one of them a week ago. He now is the leader and has the most receiving yards as a freshman receiver at Ohio State. And after tomorrow's game, Jeremiah Smith will have the most receptions as a freshman receiver and have the most receiving touchdowns as a freshman at Ohio State. And that's one thing that I thought was going to happen a couple weeks ago, but things kind of changed. Things didn't happen. Move over Chris Carter is kind of a thing, but Chris Carter is a legend at Ohio State. He's a legend in the NFL, did a lot of great things in the Scarlet and Gray. And when he was playing with Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss as well, he was a dog. And you know what? If Jeremiah Smith comes in and is able to exceed the hype and break records of a guy that's a Buckeye legend, that everybody, when they see Chris Carter highlights, they're like, ooh, he is a dog. That just goes to tell you how great Jeremiah Smith is. Yes, I'm using that word great. I don't use it very often, but when he's on the field on offense, on the Buckeyes offense, he's the best guy on the field. He is the best weapon Will Howard has. Travion Henderson is a good guy. Quinshon Judkins is a good back. Emeka Egbuka, probably a future first rounder. Jeremiah Smith is better. Seth McLaughlin having a good year. Josh Simmons played great ball. Jeremiah Smith is better. And that's crazy to say about a guy who came into Ohio State before playing a game, was an Iron Buckeye during workouts in the offseason. That's unheard of for a guy who just got on campus, but then he transferred and allowed that mindset. He transferred that offseason work to the football field during fall camp and then to the football field in the shoe and during the regular season. And we're seeing Jeremiah Smith just pop off and go off every single week and do great things. Also, he has the awareness and the self-accountability to say, man, that's on me. He took accountability for that incomplete pass that Will Howard threw last week when Jeremiah Smith said, man, I didn't think the ball was going to me. The next thing I know, it's coming to me, and I just messed up. For a young cat to take accountability like that when it would have been very easy to say, man, the sun got in my eye. It was just the sun, man. The sun got in my eye. That was the narrative that people were saying. The sun got in his eye, and maybe something else happened, and maybe something else. But he's sitting here telling you the truth. And why do you believe it's the truth? Because he's had no issue having a level of maturity and being accountable right on from jump to say that was on me. That was on me. I'm not gonna get on my high horse or get on cloud 9 for the things that I've already done. No, this is currently on me. At the end of the day, Jeremiah Smith will have more than 41 receptions and more than 8 receiving touchdowns after tomorrow's game for his Buckeye career. And he'll just be like, hey, I got more records, but that's not the end goal. Jeremiah Smith came to Ohio State to be great. He wants to help Ohio State win championships, conference championships, and national championships. And with the way he's playing, and with the way that the Buckeyes are playing right now, with the Will Howard's mindset, those things are still up for grabs. And I think Jeremiah Smith will not only break records tomorrow, but he'll have a fun time playing for the Buckeyes and might score multiple touchdowns. I'm not exactly sure, not going that far yet, but I do think there are a couple things that we can expect tomorrow when Ohio State plays Purdue. One of them we already talked about is Jeremiah Smith breaking Chris Carter's records. Another one I think goes to what Ryan Day's plan is for tomorrow's game. Ryan Day wants to establish the run early. not really go to the outside swing pass or smoke screen stuff really, really quickly to the receivers and maybe to the running backs. No, he wants to establish the run. So I also think that Ohio State's going to have 4 running backs score tomorrow. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, James Peoples, and Sam Williams-Dixon. I think all 4 running backs will score tomorrow because Ohio State is going to go back to what they need to do, running the ball. What do we know about big games? Urban Meyer says it all the time. The game against Michigan, the winner of that game wins the battle in the trenches. It has more rushing yards than the opposite team. That's every single year. Look at the history of it. You can go back to Urban Meyer's time, Ryan Day's time, Tressel's time, and you will see the winner of that game is a team that wins the battle in the trenches, and the team that has the more rushing yards wins the game. And Ryan Day knows we're not preparing to beat Purdue or Northwestern. We're preparing to beat Indiana, Michigan, win the Big Ten Conference, and to win the national championship. And to do those things, to win those big boy games where you're having to be very, very physical, you need to establish the run, which is why I think I think 4 running backs score tomorrow. I'm not going to say all 4. There probably will be more than 4 that play, but I think 4 running backs score tomorrow. I also think Bryson Rogers gets a touchdown. Now, we all are going to look at Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Buka, and it's got into the mix a week ago. Carno Tate has done some great things this year as well. But I think Bryson Rogers tomorrow, he might get rewarded in a way that when younger receivers are going to play more tomorrow than they normally would, Bryson Rogers is going to be one of those guys, and I don't know if it's going to be Devin Brown or Julian Sand or maybe one of the other quarterbacks in Keane Holtz or Nolan that throws the ball to him. But I do think we can all expect for Bryson Rogers to score. I also have a couple more predictions for tomorrow. Well, I got 3 more. I think Ohio State shuts out Purdue in the first half. And I don't think Purdue scores an offensive touchdown at all. I think the final score of this game tomorrow, and let me pull this up very quickly, is Ohio State 56, Purdue 6. I have not gone that high at all in quite a long time. A 50-point win is not outside of the realm of possibility because of how good Ohio State is and the way that they're rolling and their mindset. Purdue's bad. Purdue's really bad. I think if Purdue had a competent offense or somewhat of an average offense, Ohio State would still win, but Purdue's defense would give Ohio State a few more fits, but they're not able to because, well, Purdue's offense is so bad, it hinders how productive and how effective Purdue's defense can be. 56-6. I can't see. Man, it sounds weird saying it. 38.5 point favorites are the Buckeyes. The over-under, I think, is at 53. So for those of you keeping track at home, you do the math, you'll see exactly where we are. I do think Ohio State is going to blow out. Like, and I say pummel Purdue earlier. One, I love alliteration, but I truly believe it. Ohio State's not doing the same thing that they did against Nebraska. They're not going to roll into the shoe tomorrow with no energy, no intensity, have a dead sideline. No. That time's over. November is for contenders. We believe the Buckeyes are contenders, and tomorrow they're going to show everybody around the country we're not going to have a letdown game against Purdue. We're not going to lay down and let the Boilermakers have some success. We're going to take control early and really suck the life out of anything Purdue wants to do tomorrow. Easy as that. You accomplish your goals. Some of these things that we're predicting will happen, and the Buckeyes will be able to leave the shoe tomorrow really, really happy because they looked good, really, really good during their game against Purdue. One thing about tomorrow's game against Purdue is it's a big recruiting weekend for Carlos Locklyn because there are 3 recruits coming tomorrow, and he's going to focus on doing what he can to help those guys make the right decision, the best decision for them, and it might be committing to Ohio State. This episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it's all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or maybe first watch every day. We had not done a lot of talking about Ohio State recruiting lately. We did it a few weeks ago when Jakeem Stewart came up from the Bayou to take an unofficial visit to Ohio State. He is still scheduled to take an official visit to Ohio State once again for the game Thanksgiving weekend. And so I'm going to start doing more of this stuff because recruiting is very, very important, especially as we get closer to the early signing day. Well, Ohio State this weekend is welcoming 3 recruits in, and they're all really, really good. One of them is currently an Alabama commit who Carlos Locklyn has made a big impression on. It's Anthony Turbo Rogers. You watch the film, you understand why he is the guy that has a nickname Turbo. His film is amazing. Trust me, go check it out on 11warriors.com. They have an article. I believe Garrick is the author. Yeah, Garrick Hodge is the author of this article. Does a great job at covering recruiting for them. And there's a clip of his huddle tape, 2 minutes and 41 seconds to be exact. It does not take very long for you to realize this dude's different, which is why Ohio State has been pursuing him. And even though he's been committed to Alabama since June of 2023, Carlos Locklyn doesn't care. He's comfortable adding 3 guys in the upcoming recruiting cycle. Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, in-state kid Bo Jackson, are still both verbally committed to Ohio State. And Locklyn wants 3. Now, myself, I've been up in the air about should Ohio State do 2? Should Ohio State do 3? I don't know. But if you're able to get Isaiah West, Bo Jackson, and Turbo Rogers all in one recruiting class, you're winning. You're absolutely winning. Now, maybe you still want to go out there and get a transfer because let's just say that Henderson and Judkins go to the NFL. Then you might go to the transfer portal to get 1 or maybe 2 more in to kind of fill that room up with some experience. But if you get this youth movement with these 3 running backs, with a guy in Locklyn who doesn't want to recruit or even coach a guy who's a soft batch cookie, that's his quote, not mine. He said it in an interview. I was using his own words. He don't want to coach no soft batch cookie. He doesn't want them in his room. I think Ohio State's winning. Now, Turbo Rogers, when you watch the film, what would you expect when you hear a guy's name is Turbo? He's fast, man. He's fast. I mean, he has track speed, and he's utilizing it on the football field. Very, very shifty. He's great in space. There were times that they had him at the running back position, put him out for routes, caught that boy in space, made a quick move, and got upfield. There were other times they handed the ball off to him. He got upfield. Nobody could catch him. I mean, I don't know his 40 time, and I don't care what his 40 time is. My eyeballs told me he was the fastest guy on the field. And Ohio State is going to try to figure out, well, Isaiah West's skill set and Bo Jackson's skill set, they can play together. And then when you add in Turbo Rogers, who could also play in the slot, could play in the backfield, be somewhat a Swiss Army knife, that's just another tool in Ohio State's bag. And we know Chip Kelly has been in his bag lately. And if you want to add a guy like a Turbo Rogers to Ohio State and flip that thing, flip him from being an Alabama commit to being an Ohio State commit, you're winning. And I think it's possible. I truly think it's possible that Ohio State can flip Turbo Rogers from being an Alabama commit and to come to Ohio State. And no, I don't think it's a knock on Kalen DeBoer and saying DeBoer's doing a bad job. No, I think it's a credit to Carlos Locklyn and the impact Locklyn has made on this young man. Remember Brian Smith? We did a lot of recruiting shows with him for at least a year plus now. Well, Brian Smith is down there. He knows Turbo Rogers personally, and he's talked about the impact Locklyn has had on Turbo Rogers now, even though he's committed to Alabama. Think about that. Locklyn came in and quickly said, "Oh, we got two? Man, let's go get number 3. Coach, he's committed to somebody. He's committed to that school down there in Tuscaloosa. I don't care. I don't care at all. I want him, and I want to create a relationship, sustain a relationship, and make that thing so good, so solid, he's going to want to leave that school down there in the South where he lives and come play at Ohio State. Ohio State has a great track record of of running backs. I mean, think about just the history of the sport in Columbus, Ohio. Running backs all over the place. Guys transferring in, Trey Sermon, once he figures out the offense and gets healthy, man, great run at the end of that 2020 season. You got J.K. Dobbins going for a 2,000 plus. Ezekiel Elliott's run in the 2014 season all the way to winning the Natty. You go back to Eddie George and Keith Byers and all these great guys, man. Ohio State's history of running backs is great. And if I'm a guy down there in the South, might have a different skill set than Eddie George and a different skill set than maybe Ezekiel Elliott, that don't matter. I want to go to a school that can develop me to being a great running back and that can help me get to the next level. That's the Ohio State University. If he goes to Alabama, cool. If he comes to Ohio State, cool. But I truly think that the way that Locklyn has made a living, got promoted and got the job from Oregon to Ohio State because he knows how to build relationships. He knows how to coach running backs. That's going to be very clear. This recruitment right now at Turbo Rogers. And it wouldn't shock me if Rogers said, nah, I ain't going to be a Crimson Tide. I want to go be a Buckeye. 2 more visitors that are coming in this weekend. Savian Hyder, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. He's in the class of 2026, the number 1 running back in that class. He's a 5-star running back from Virginia, 5'11", 182 pounds. He will be in Columbus this weekend. And then also Derek Cooper, who is the former teammate of Jeremiah Smith. He is a running back from Florida, 4-star kid that I do think Ohio State is going to try to start pursuing. And I think Ohio State wants 2 backs in a class. Now, when you have Savian Hyder, I hope I'm saying it correctly, standing at, let me get my notes here, 5'11", 182. And then you got Derek Cooper, who is 6'1", 190. The body types are a little bit different. One's taller and heavier. I do think these 2 guys, not saying they're going to come to Ohio State, but this is what we're going to expect. You're not going to get just one running back in. You're going to get multiple running backs in at the same time in the same class, and they're going to get to know each other. So, relationship. If they start building relationships early, it's easier for Ohio State to have multiple running backs in a class and to keep them and not potentially lose one later in the cycle. It's possible. It might happen. But I think Locklyn's doing great things right now. You bring a guy in that's already committed to Alabama, but you want to flip him, and you're bringing in 2 guys from the next cycle, having those guys in at the same time, they can share stories. They can bounce ideas back off of each other. And they can say, man, what has Locklyn done for you, man? And let me just tell you this list. This dude's been very, very helpful. What has Locklyn done for you? What impact has he made on you so far? And they just start talking and becoming boys. Next thing you know, Locklyn's like, okay, where you going? Here. Okay, where you going? I'm playing for you. Wow, y'all both at the same time. Well, man, you impacted him and you impacted me. We both want to play for you and get coached by you and be the best running backs we can be under your tutelage. That's what we might be looking at. Just like Ohio State is expected to pummel Purdue tomorrow, Carlos Locklyn might lock down a couple commits tomorrow during Ohio State's next game of the season. Thank you all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Sheeman puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're up out of here, Buckeye fans, on a Feel Good Friday. The Buckeyes are back on the field tomorrow. I can't wait to watch them, and I can't wait to see Jeremiah Smith break more Ohio State records. It's probably going to happen tomorrow, probably early in the game.